Good morning and welcome to the transfer review. It has been a mad 24 hours and the window is now well and truly underway. We've got a lot to discuss this morning, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get straight on with it and begin with Declan Rice. Manchester City launched their bid last night, which falls short of the, of course, £100 million valuation that West Ham have on the player. It's about £80 million with £10 million in add-ons on top, almost matching, just the package up front's better, but almost matching Arsenal's second bid that was already rejected. Feels like Manchester City are kind of testing Arsenal here. How much do they want it? Testing their appetite for a battle for Declan Rice. But that offer is now in and we're expecting Arsenal to follow up imminently. We're expecting that to come. I believe Arsenal's offer will be better than what City have offered, if not matching at least the upfront fee that City have put on the table. The £100 million mark will be reached by these clubs in an attempt to bring Rice. And the key is this: Arsenal still absolutely believe that Declan Rice wants to join them. They still believe they have the players, yes, and that if they can beat Manchester City, then he will join them. Doesn't matter if both bids are accepted for Arsenal, they still believe he will join them. But of course, Pep Guardiola and Man City are not bidding on a whim. They are bidding because they absolutely believe that they can get the player. They have got a nudge. They've got a chance of getting this deal done. And there was some kind of expectancy with us journalists that maybe City would wait and sit and see what happened with Arsenal and then go. But the fact that they have gone speaks volumes to us that there is a deal to be done for City here, and that perhaps the lure of Pep Guardiola and the lure of Manchester City is enough to maybe convince him to look away from London. But we do believe that Declan Rice wants a London stay, and that is a big tick in the box for Arsenal. He's spoken to Mikel Arteta, he's heard about the plan, he knows how he's going to be used, he's a future club captain at Arsenal, how Mikel Arteta sees him. So he's playing a big role, and it could end up being a huge decision for Declan Rice in the coming days. But Arsenal's bid is expected. It is currently 7:45 in the morning, so we'll wait and see what happens throughout the day. But we're expecting an Arsenal bid at least within the next 48 hours to go against City. Let battle commence. The two battled for the title up until the end, near the end of the season last year, and now they're about to battle for Declan Rice. They also are going to see another battle as well continuing, and that is with Mount at Manchester United and Chelsea. So Man United have had a bid rejected of around the £55 million mark for Mason Mount. Chelsea looking for near £65 million. Chelsea countered with an offer that was 58 plus 7. That takes them up to that 65, and I think this deal will get done for a near the £60 million mark. Both clubs confident they can get a deal over the line. However, Manchester United are still reiterating that they will walk away if Chelsea do not come down from that 65 mark. I do think that there's bend in both these clubs' valuations now. I do think that there's movement. Again, it's 7:45 in the morning here. We'll wait and see what happens throughout the day. And at time of recording this, in time of release, that could have changed. However, at this point in time, my understanding is that both clubs want to get a deal done. And another saga is set to come to an end this week. Mason Mount, not Declan Rice, Mason Mount could finally be a Manchester United player. If it is rejected, it's a very odd situation. It does open the door for others, but it's a very odd situation. He has told Chelsea he will not sign a new deal. He has told Chelsea he will leave as a free agent in 2024. Now, whether that means Chelsea reject and believe they can convince him over the season, we shall wait and see. Will the power of Poch stop him from leaving? Will Pochettino use him? We know he would. Pochettino does like Mount. But will Pochettino use him and then convince him that Chelsea is the place for him to be? It's also keen to note here, there's a lot of kind of information flying from both sides, maybe a bit of mud flying from both sides. I've never heard of any rudeness, nastiness in this. I've just heard it as a kind of football deal. These things happen. I think it's a shame for both. I think Mount wanted to play his whole career at Chelsea. He's a Chelsea boy. He grew up at the club. And the deal's not just come across the table. There's been no contract offer from Chelsea since April. And it's kind of been open since then. Liverpool were early leaders in the race for Mount. Since then, they have dropped out of the race, obviously focusing on other targets. Manchester United are in the clear to sign him. Speaking of teams in the clear to sign a player, well, Chelsea are in the clear currently to sign Moises Caicedo. The Arsenal Rice deal, or Manchester City Rice deal potentially, could swing that. They could come for Caicedo. Arsenal currently dropped out of that race at this point in time, focusing on Rice, Romeo Lavia, another target for them as well. But Chelsea are in the clear for Caicedo. Caicedo has greenlit the deal, and now the likes of Loftus-Cheek has left the club. As I told you, AC Milan would come back in for him. I told you that he was still a top target. And that deal is now done for a package worth €28 million, inclusive of add-ons. Loftus-Cheek heading to Italy. And with other outgoings set to be completed, you can watch Chelsea now over the next week. I would expect it by the end of this week. We'll wait and see. Chelsea to push for Caicedo and get that done. Some reports they won't meet the €88 million valuation that Brighton have got on the table. I think it will. I think a bid will reach near that at least. And Chelsea will go to around the 75 to 80 mark to get a deal done here. We'll wait and see, but that's my expectation on this, with Chelsea in the clear and ready to move for Moises Caicedo. But what happens if Manchester City land Declan Rice in a squad that's already full of world-class players from top to bottom? Kyle Walker getting closer to a move out of the club to Bayern Munich. Stated before, Walker was ready to go for Manchester City, and it's just a mutual agreement. I think it's time. There were contract talks set to happen between the pair, but I think it's time for him to move on. And Achraf Hakimi is a huge target for Manchester City. Quite mad of them thinking add Achraf Hakimi to what that is. That squad is already absolutely ludicrous. As I put out in my report yesterday, he's a target for the club. Pep Guardiola absolutely loves the Moroccan international at Paris Saint-Germain. Big bid would needed, big deal to do. And Manchester City want to bring him in. Declan Rice, Vardiol and Achraf Hakimi with Kovacic would be an absolutely ridiculous window for Manchester City, considering they have just won the treble. But Bernardo Silva potentially leaving, Gundogan has leaving. Pep Guardiola always likes to refresh. In terms of Vardiol, that deal now moving forward, Manchester City getting closer to completing what will be a world record fee for a centre-back for him. Personal terms, no problem at all there. And as for Hakimi, City ready to pay what is required to bring him in. Again, I think you're looking at around the €80 million mark for someone of his talents. Unbelievable athlete, unbelievable player. And we'll wait and see if City can get a deal across the line in the coming weeks. Aston Villa, they are set to push for Pau Torres. I spoke about him being a key target for Villa, I think it was 2 months ago now, when I put the original report out, and they are now pushing for him. Talks have begun. It could be a deal worth around €35 million for the Spanish centre-back. Villarreal have been keen to keep him at the club for a long time, working on a new deal, offering a new contract, talks continuing, but I understand that Pau Torres would be keen to speak to Unai Emery. And Monchi, who's now the director of football there, obviously came from Sevilla, knows Unai Emery. They are working on this deal to get done. So Villa pushing for a key target in Pau Torres, a target that Emery knows so well and really likes. Great on the ball, great in the air, good pace for a centre-back. Not the biggest, but a very good centre-back indeed. And he is getting closer to a move. We expected movement for him this summer, and as soon as Emery got the Aston Villa job, we knew that he would be a target. Him and Monchi, the key men, to make this deal happen. So watch that over the coming weeks if Aston Villa push for Pau Torres from Villarreal. Could Federico Chiesa move to Newcastle? Well, that is the line. That is the talk. What a deal that would be. They obviously have signed Sandro Tonali from Juventus. An incredible deal for the club. A sign of the times at Newcastle of what is to come. And Federico Chiesa now looks like he could be the next man to join. He is wanted by Newcastle. He is being looked at. Huge deal to get done if they wanted to get it done. Hernandez, another man that has been looked at with a harder deal to get done from AC Milan. However, watch Federico Chiesa. You'll watch Sandro Tonali at St James's Park. Watch Federico Chiesa over the coming weeks. A lot of movement potentially in his direction. So much going on in the Premier League already, and the window, like I said, has literally just begun. But what about in Scotland? Celtic, of course, they have been linked with Ndidi at Leicester. Is that possible? Absolutely it is. It's definitely possible. It would be an incredible signing. They've got a huge budget to spend. We think it's around the £30 million mark to spend this summer under new manager Brendan Rodgers. And Rodgers is absolutely going to go for it. Rangers are obviously in talks with a number of players, but I've got a video out later today about Rangers around about the 5:30 p.m. time. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss that. But big movement to happen in Scotland over the next week or so as well. Celtic being linked with the likes of Ndidi is no surprise. During Brendan Rodgers' obviously tenure at Leicester, he would have been a link. There was always going to be links to these players, a bit like Postecoglou being linked to all the Celtic players moving from Spurs. Nothing major yet at this point in time again in the morning on that. Nothing concrete on that at this point in the time in the morning. Lots of people wanting Ndidi. We'll wait and see if Celtic can land him for around that £9 million mark. Would be a big signing for Scottish football, for Celtic as well. We'll wait and see what happens in the coming days. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.